you never try something new, then you'll never know. It was something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
And I honestly love that because I used to be someone like in the past, I used to be so shy of like going after what I really want in life. And one thing that my Bookstagram taught me was like sometimes you just got to go through the motions to figure out what you want, and opportunities will just kind of like come your way. Like if you stay stagnant and you don't make any decision, nothing's ever going to happen, right? You kind of have
Nothing
to
will
go through
happen.
the motions. Exactly. You have to take that first leap.
Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia. And for all those people watching us from around the world, British Columbia is one of the most beautiful provinces in Canada, and and then most people know Vancouver. It's a big province in a big country, obviously, and we are about 500 miles north of Vancouver, or 800 kilometers north of Vancouver. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Rana Habib. I just want to make sure you got your last name, Habib, correct?
Yes. Rana Habib, yes.
Welcome on the show, Rana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm excited about our podcast, and you are located in Windsor, Ontario.
Yes, correct. So about like 4 hours south of Toronto, and I border Detroit, Michigan.
Okay, so tell us a bit about of your background, and then obviously one of the things that you do is you have a company, or you're the founder of Books and Things Explained,
Yes.
and we'll talk about that quite a bit, obviously. And so, but first, give us a bit of your background.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Rana Habib. Like you said, I'm from Windsor, Ontario, born and raised here my whole life. I went to school here. I got my Bachelor's of Commerce, graduated in 2020, and that's when I actually started my Bookstagram. So I'm a nonfiction book reviewer. I always say come for book reviews, but stay for book recommendations and insights. I'm on Instagram and TikTok right now, but hoping to expand in the future.
Wow. So, so you do a lot of reviewing of nonfiction or fiction, or is it a particular category of books that you do?
I mainly read nonfiction. I will dabble into fiction every now and then because I
Right.
appreciate a good book, but I am a full nonfiction reader and reviewer. And every now and then I'll sprinkle fiction.
Yeah. And then you also, so you do that as part of your life, and now
Yes.
podcasting, obviously, but also you are also working in another profession at the same time, correct?
I actually quit my job back in August
Okay.
to do this full time. So now I'm actually just a full time book reviewer.
So, I've never known anybody that has this as a profession. So, how many books do you do, and how does the process work?
Oh my God. I can read anywhere between maybe 5 to 10 books in a month. I don't like to overdo it just because I now have to pump out content in relation to that book or like those books. So honestly, it depends. If I'm traveling, I obviously read a little bit less, or if the books are very like thick and bigger, then I'm gonna read a little bit less. But anywhere between, I try to do like at least one book a week, so I can create content around it.
That's a lot of books.
It is a lot of books, but you know what? It's my job now, so I kind of have to. But it's
So,
great because I
yeah,
get
go ahead.
like in the mail, so I'm always introduced to new books, and then there's the books that I want to read, and then there's the books that my viewers want me to read. So I constantly am kept on my toes with all the different books that I get to read. It's honestly the life. I get paid to read.
So where is the business side of what you do? Is that you being invited to, on a fee for service, to read books, or do you select them? How do you select or decide which ones to read and comment
Um,
on?
I do like sometimes I'll get recommendations from my audience. So they'll be like, oh, can you read this book next? And I'll go out and I'll read it. Or I'll have recommendations from other fellow book talkers in the nonfiction world as well. Like they'll say, oh, like, read this book. Also books that I want to read just based on like personal preference, because I think that's also important. So I'd like to have like a healthy balance between what my audience wants to see and what I want to read. And honestly, not every book that I read actually gets, published. I don't publish content on it because sometimes I'll just read just for like the pleasure of it, and not to create anything, but just for me to enjoy. So yeah, I like to keep a healthy balance because it is important to me that I remain authentic with the content that I put out. So I want to make sure that my audience is satisfied, but I also want to make sure that I'm satisfied as well. So just a healthy balance between the two. And if I get
go ahead,
books in
Rana.
it's also very important to me that I push out, like a lot of indie authors or just other authors who are like coming out with books as well. Like if they, and like not paid, it's just they've sent me PR and I'll push that out as well. So just a little mix.
Right. And then what happens is that, how many have you done so far, you think?
How many book posts I've done?
Yeah.
In my entirety, like of like 3 years of posting?
Yeah.
I think on Instagram, I'm at about like 200 posts.
Wow.
Yeah. TikTok, it's a mixture. I don't do like TikTok is more like book recommendations. So I've kind of like clustered them all in one.
Right.
But yeah, I think on Instagram, I'm like inching toward like maybe 250. And by the end of the year, for sure, I'll be like in the 300 range.
Right. And you came into it as you saw a need there, or did you ever realize that this may become a business for you? Did it start as a hobby and then progressed, or?
Yeah, so that's exactly what it was. I started back in December of 2020, and it was just like we were in I think it was like our second or third lockdown because of COVID. And started it as like a little passion project. I actually didn't tell anyone except like a select few individuals. Everyone knew that I was working on something, but they didn't know what it was because I wanted to build the content and the audience authentically. So I worked on that for about 6 months and I referred to it as like my passion project to my friends until I like launched it. I would say May or June of 2020. I kind of launched it to the world. Granted, I was already publishing content, but no one knew that it was me that was publishing it. So yeah, since then I've just been publishing content. I went viral on TikTok in July of 2021, which definitely like helped. And then a year later, I ended up going viral on Instagram. And then that's kind of how I built my following on Instagram as well.
So where is the business side of doing that?
So for now, I'm a TikTok ambassador for 𝗕𝗅𝗶𝗀𝗀 Publishing Group, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House, the publishing house. So I create content for them with 2 other amazing book talkers. And they basically send me books and I'll read them. I get to pick and choose which ones I want to read as well. And I create content with it. And I'm also on Lemon8, which is the sister app for TikTok. They're owned by the same company, ByteDance. And I'm a paid creator on their app. So those are like my two main streams for now.
So obviously you're good at what you do, and the better you are, the more people like the ones that are your main clients that are sending you books, they like what you do, how you present it, and then that will create additional business or additional books, and other people that obviously marketing people would like you to read other books that they have because of the success that you have in your business, correct?
Yes.
That's the whole objective, right?
Yes, basically, yeah. So that's another side too, is like I can also do personal collabs as well. So there's so many ways, yeah.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that has happened, obviously, you indicated that you just started on podcasting, and it's an amazing media because what I like about it is we've been involved for a number of years now, and then before that we were involved on a more regional level, northern BC, and worked with one of the television companies here, Shaw, and who did a regional interviewing that I did, a form of first blogging, then kind of a form of podcasting, and then obviously COVID came, and then we said, what are we going to do now? And I even thought about, setting up another studio and maybe in Vancouver, increase my circle, and then we got exposed to Podmatch.
Yes.
Which was amazing and has worked very, very well for us. And now, and then the other part that we did is most of the interviewing I did was in person, and then very limited amount of either Zoom or virtual. But virtual became seamless likely already a couple of years ago. Before that, there were so many hiccups and it didn't quite work always. And now, virtually, we probably do more than 90% of our podcasting virtual through Podmatch in around the world.
Yeah, what's great about that is like you're exposed to so many more creative individuals. Like now, you're not just limited to northern BC. You're able to literally connect with anyone, anywhere, at any time.
Yeah, and then the other part about it is you and me, obviously we never met until now, so we sitting here having dialogue, but at the same time we already know that, that we have a lot of people that are watching our podcasting, probably tens of thousands of them, and what we do usually, we release our podcast as we play it. We do very little editing to it, and we probably put it out the following day. Like this one, today's Thursday, right? So this one will come out tomorrow, and very quickly, and then it's available to you. And then once you send it into the area you want to have it go, and in the meantime, I can visualize our conversation here, but at the same time, there are tens of thousands of people around the world are watching us at the same time. And that in particular makes it so interesting and so unique.
Yeah, it truly is.
Now, the other part is that so as you know, I'm an author, and I've done 3 books, nearly a 4th one, but I've done 3. I'm not sure which ones you have seen of the ones that I did. The first one I did is Against All Odds.
So I don't have that one. I have ADHD Unlocked. I actually have it here.
Okay, excellent.
And I have, Finding Your Passion, Living Your Dream. I couldn't find where I put it because my bookshelf is a mess.
Okay.
And I don't know where I put it. But I also have that. So I've only read those 2. I didn't read that one, though.
You didn't read this one, Against All Odds?
No, I didn't know. I thought.
Yeah. So we will send it to you.
Yes,
and
please.
I will sign it. Did I sign ADHD Unlocked?
Yes.
Okay. So did I only send you one then? I didn't know that. I thought that we send you more than one. So
I have Finding Your Passion, Living Your Dream. I just can't find where I put it in my bookshelf. I can't even call it a bookshelf because I have books stacked on the ground. It's very embarrassing. I didn't know where I put it, but I have it. I have it. I promise I have it because I know I have it. I just don't know where I put it.
So another one that I'm doing is coming out in August. And so we're virtually at the final stages of the book. We have our first draft on, I think, the first week in March. And it's about living young, dying old.
I love it.
And it's all about, now, believe it or not, that's That guy, I know that guy on the picture. He's nearly 84 years old.
Oh my God, he looks better than me.
So I'm a bodybuilder and physique that and right now I'm training for going in 2017, 2018 I competed bodybuilding physique, Northern BC, qualified me for the provincials, then did about the same in the provincials. That qualified me for the nationals in the Arnolds. And so then obviously COVID came, and now I'm training again to go back to the nationals and the Arnolds in 2025. That's when I'm 85. So, but this is kind of what it looks like.
Can I ask, like, what made you want to get into like bodybuilding?
But why I want into bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's always a story, right? So up to 2008, I was not as fit as I could be. And then I got a case of diverticulitis. I don't know if you're familiar with diverticulitis. It's a rupture of the colon that it's not uncommon. The rupture is pain. You always say, my tummy is hurting me, and then say it's on the left side or the right side. If it is on the right side, it's probably the appendix. And if it is on the left side, it could well be diverticulitis. And then a doc, I'm not a doc, but they would likely recommend to go to more vegetables and a friendly diet. And, then, but in rare cases, what happens is there is a rupture. And so that happened with me, a rupture of the colon, and all the toxins then go through your mid side, and that's not good. And you have about 48 hours before it starts attacking all the vital organs there. And so I came that close to killing me, So that's when I became more serious about diet. And my wife is vegan, so and then the other part is that, as you well know, what we tend to do at the end of the year, we make commitments that we're going to do. We're going to do this, that, those, and then also we're going to buy a gym membership, and then 2 weeks later, we can find 100 reasons as why we can't go, and then until the next year end, and the routine. So I knew what I had to do if I had to become more serious about diet, and I had to become more serious about physical, fitness as well. So to get a trainer, and so I did that. Got a trainer. One was very serious about it. So and after about 6 or 7 years, somebody came up to us while we were training. He said, "Hey, John, have you ever thought about competing?" I said, "Who, me?" And yeah, I said, "You, because you look great." And I said, maybe I should, So I then started focusing, because it then motivated me to work even harder. And so I did that. And then the next step was I competed here in Northern BC, in the category of 55 years and older. And already I was 75 at the time. So they could be my kids that I was competing against. But I was doing pretty good. I came in second bodybuilding, third in physique. And then, as I said earlier, it brought me all the way to the Arnolds. And now, again, I'm training again for doing it again. And so by the time I'm 85, I again will go to the nationals and the Arnolds. And obviously, the category that I'm in, they have no category for 80 years and older, because most of those guys are either on the couch or dead, or nearly. So, and I try to be fit. So, but then the other part about it is that, as far as I'm concerned, is that it's not the number, it's not age, it is, the quality of life that counts. And subsequently, so I'm obviously fit, and I'm healthy mentally, physically. I'm probably 80-20 vegan and probably approaching 90-10 vegan. So I'm very conscientious about my diet. And then, I work hard in the gym. And as I get closer to competing, towards the fall, probably on the regional levels, and then by 2025 going back to the national and the Arnolds, I should then be in the shape that I want to be in, that I can be successful in a competitive level,
Oh my God, that is amazing. So is that what your next book talks about then, or?
Yeah, it talks about that, and but it talks about all the things that why is it so important, and what is about quality of life, and especially now, where a lot of people, it is so difficult to say, okay, I want to be fit. What do I do? Well, my God, there is so many. You look at one program and they say this, and the other one says so. I want to show what I did and how to
Yes.
make it simple and relatively easy to follow. Like with diets, I'm mainly plant-based. And which is very tasteful. It's and then the other part about it is I avoid the center on. If you see in a grocery store, usually the outside of the grocery store is where the healthy foods are, and in the center are more of the ones that you should not be eating, likely because it has all kinds of other things in it. So that to me is important, and then the other part is the staying active mentally, and then obviously physically, going to the gym and staying active.
Totally, I agree. I'm a huge cardio bunny. I love cardio. I can't live without it. So
Right.
I'm not quite there in terms of like bodybuilding, but I love a good hike, walk. I love running. It gets you in such a flow state where you're just like in a state of complete immersion of what you're doing, and time goes by so fast. Um, so I'm there with you.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not there with you. I'm not a bodybuilder, but I get what you're saying, where it's like it's so important to keep intact with your health.
yeah, and that's a great idea right now. Is that what I'm saying is that everybody doesn't have to become an Olympian or going to bodybuilding or that's the point is stay physically active. And I say also in the book that even if you spend 20 minutes a day of being active in cardio, it will keep you, relatively speaking, healthy. And if you want to go further than that, great, So, but it is just a question of staying, you have to stay active. And this precious body that we have is very, very forgiving, but only to a certain extent. And then it says, okay, that's all I'm going to take, and we can't do anymore. And then that's where you get all kinds of other issues and other problems, usually in the last decade of someone's life. I saw an article actually where in the United States there was a doc that had done a study of other people docs that had done biopsies of about 100,000 people, and not a single one of them died of old age. And so, which is very, very interesting. And so the book is more than anything about simplifying that, using myself as an example. Obviously, I'm not a doc. I'm not making recommendations from a medical perspective, and there are lots of books about that already, but just using myself as an example and what I do and how I've gone through the process, and what I'm doing today and how do I go forward. And hopefully that will, and already has, motivated a lot of people to look at diet in particular, because whatever you put into your body is so critically important. And then obviously I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't do drugs. And then the other part is looking at other alternatives. Like the medical system is not, and I'm saying this respectfully again, not focusing much on preemptive of what can we do to be more proactive in terms of maintaining health or recognizing issues before they occur and become serious. And and I think there is more information available now to people, and a lot of times it's just a question of finding it. And so what I'm simply trying to do in this book is that, tongue-in-cheek, I say I want to be 120, and so in the meantime I stay as fit as I can be, and be careful about my diet. At the same time, I'm still very, very active in business. It's not about business, this one, but I have about 10 different companies, and they keep me very, very busy. The other part is sleep is very important. I usually sleep 7 to 8 hours a day. And then the other part that I do is that I usually get up at 5:30 in the mornings. I always make my bed, and and then I'm attitude is critically important. I'm an optimist. No matter what happens today, how difficult it is, I would swear tomorrow is a better day. And then the other one is to be, and it's on my plaque here. Now, 2547, I will tell you what that is about.
I know what that is about. Look.
Yeah. Attitude, passion, whatever I do, I give it 150%. And work ethic is that, so I work harder than anybody, and what will follow is success. Now, for the people that are watching us, 2547 is, I came from Canada, and with the dream of building a lumber mill here, and came off the bus here. I was in Vancouver when I arrived, and with a suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, and I couldn't speak the English, and fortunately at the immigration office there was a German fellow. I talked to him, told him what I wanted to do. My dream was to build a lumber mill, and he said, go to Prince George. That's a boom town and lots of opportunity there, and so I did. I went in the bus. I wanted to start with nothing. When I left Holland, Amsterdam, I had $150, 3 books, 1 suitcase, 2 sets of clothes, and so when I came off the bus here in Prince George in July of 1965, I counted my money at least 3 times, and I had $25.47. But I was going to build a lumber mill, and and I did more than one actually, and so that's where it came from.
I love that. Do you remember what books you brought with you by any chance?
I do. I still have them.
Do?
It was it was in Dutch. Management by Drucker was one of the one. The other one, also in Dutch, was Logical Thinking. And then the third one was all about Canada. Those were my 3 books.
I love that. Well, so if those are the 3 books that you brought, why'd you pick those 3 in specific? I just have to ask because I feel like books really tell you what kind of person a person is based on what they choose to read. So I mean, Logical Thinking, Canada makes sense. What was the first one?
Management by Drucker. It's recognized as one of the books. If you have an opportunity, look at it. Management by Drucker would be the same title. It was in Dutch, but it was the same title. And he was probably one of the most progressive management observers or knowledgeable in that area of being very proactive, very observing management structures and a new approach to it, a different approach to it. And so that's what I was very impressed by. Now, the other part about it is that you may already know that. I'm not sure if you know that from these books. I'm going to send you this one. I'd like you to look at that, and if you can, it's tell us more about this, is that this is an autobiography, and a lot of this, what I'm telling you, is in there. And autobiographies, as you well know, are difficult. You cannot say, okay, I started this. I never wrote a book in my life. And so after about 2 months, I say, I don't like it, so I'm going to do another one. No, you got one crack at it, and that's it. And so the other part that I should mention to you is that why did I go to Canada, is that we were I was born in 1940. We were liberated by the Canadian Army, April the 12th, 1945. And it so much impressed me at 5 years old that I always knew that I would go to the land of my heroes, Canada. And then academically, I was not a success story. I failed grade 3 and I failed grade 7 3 times. And then he said, what are we going to do with this guy? Send him to the mentally challenged school. Now, my parents were beautiful. Or should we get him a job and trying to train him in a trade of some sort? Well, fortunately, they sent me to a furniture factory, and I became a furniture maker. Which served and then the other friends of mine, the kids that I grew up with, that went on to college and then universities, I at the age of 13 became a laborer. And I'm proud of that today, but then it was kind of looked down on. And I kind of felt that in a way I had failed. So the dream was then to go to Canada, and then my grandfather was a master carpenter, and my dad managed a small lumber company, not his own, but somebody else's. And my dream was to build my own lumber mill and to start with nothing and to prove to me, not to anybody else, but to me, that I could do it. And so that brought me to Canada, and then I wanted to start with nothing. And I did that, and, and that's what the book is all about, and all the ups and downs along the way. So that's why I wrote Against All Odds, is that it's not a hurrah, hurrah, John, but more all the ups and downs along the way, so.
I love it. You'll definitely have to send me that along with your new book coming out so I can read.
Yeah, I will sign that one and send it to you.
Yes, please.
Yes. So what do you think now? The other part that you probably already know is that it took me till I was here, and I already was quite successful, and people said, hey, John, you're so successful. I didn't feel that way. I kind of still, even then, I had already a number of companies that I had failed to a certain extent, and I was not very outgoing. I functioned not well outside of my normal environment. And then one day I went into a bookstore. It was actually January 1997. Now I had been here already for 32 years, was already quite successful, picked up a book. The title of the book was Driven to Distraction by Dr. 𝗕𝗏𝗏. And as I picked up the book, it's not this one, I still have that one too, actually. And I opened the book, it was about ADHD. And I said, oh my God, that's me. And so I took the book and I wrote in the book in Dutch, because I was kind of ashamed with it because of a stigma, and implied that there was a mental dysfunction of some sort. And I wrote it in Dutch. Now I finally know who I am. And now Dr. 𝗕𝗏𝗏 also has written about 18 books, also ADHD. I had him on my podcast here, I believe about 2 weeks ago. And so we did a very interesting podcast, and what you may find interesting about it. Now, so what I did is just to tell you a little bit more about it. So that when I heard something about ADHD and I saw the book, I did a lot of searching on Google, got more knowledge about what it was about, and the more I saw of it, the more it connect. I'm a classic example of ADHD. And so, but it took me 5 years before I would go to my own doc, delivered our two daughters actually, and a personal friend. I went to his office, and he said, "Hey, John, why are you here?" I said, "I think I got ADHD." And so we looked at it together, and yeah, I do, and so I was then 62 years old, and so the more I found out about it, the more I know about it, I know it's a superpower. And it was troubling to me that it was believed then from the things that I read on Google that around 8% of the population were affected by ADHD or ADD. I very quickly became more aware that the likely were more than 20. And so when I did my podcast, if you have an opportunity, you should look at the podcast, or I suggest you do, is that with Dr. 𝗕𝗀𝗀𝗀. And I mentioned that to him. He said, "No, John, I think it's more than 25% that are directly affected by ADHD or ADD."
Wow.
And then
Wow.
the other part that I said to him is that of the successful entrepreneurs or CEOs of companies, and the operative here is the successful ones. I believe, I said to Dr. 𝗕𝗀𝗀𝗀, at least in my mind, that 50% of them are ADD or ADHD. He said, "No, John, probably more than 75%. I believe that as well."
Really?
And
What
I
makes you like
call it a
strong?
superpower. And a lot of times people say to me, "But how do you do all the things that you do? You're active speaker, you're a podcaster, you write books, you have 10 companies that you're managing, and all the other things that I do. Go to the gym. I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. And how do you do all of that?" I say, ADHD. That's the reason.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's good though. You've taken something that, maybe to others, like you said, there was like a negative stigma around it. You've taken something that maybe isn't so positive and you've like transmuted it and made it into something better. It's almost like an alchemist. What is
Right.
it? What do they turn into gold? I forget what they turn into gold, but it's a similar thing where it's like you're taking a situation where you've been dealt a certain set of cards. To some it might be unfortunate, but you went ahead and used that as like sort of a catalyst to, enjoy life and to be more successful in life and feel more fulfilled, which is great.
It became clearer to me, Rana, that what troubled me at the time of failing grade 3 and then failing grade 7 3 times, that was not the reason that I simply was not able. I simply had attention issues, and a lot of times school was so boring that I may as well not have been there because I lived in a different world. Somebody asked me about it, tongue in cheek a little bit here, and saying, "Hey, John, are you sorry that you, and still is it troubling that you only had grade 7 3 times?" And I said, "Yes, it is, really is. I think I should have quit earlier."
Oh wow. Would you have been able to back in I know in
No,
Canada you
no,
would have been
it
able
was,
to,
but just tongue in cheek. But I said
yeah,
at 13 I was working. But the point
yeah.
that I'm making, and even now, and is being recognized, and as you likely saw on the back of my book, Dr. Romer, is somebody that I met on the plane that is a academic professor at the University of British Columbia, or BCIT, British Columbia Institute of Technology, and I talked to him on the flight actually, I described it in the book, is looking at micro-certification, is saying that rather than putting somebody in the classroom for 4 years and doing a whole lot of stuff that is of little or minor use to you, but only 6 months you need to focus on the core set of skill sets that you are trying to develop, and the other ones, the stuff around it becomes complementary that you could do later. And I think we're working more and more towards changing our system that we use in the educational system that is simply not very effective. And especially not when one of the biggest challenges now is finding skill sets that, I see it in our company and a lot of other places as well,
Totally. Definitely agree.
So, any comments on my books, ADHD Unlocked and Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream? I just, with your expertise, so I'm sitting down and I'm ready for saying, oh my God.
I think, well, I don't know if you've already answered this, but I just want to know, and this is something I'm curious about for all writers, like what inspired you to write your books in general?
Yeah, and you will get this one here, Against All Odds.
Yeah, that was your first. So I didn't get to
That
read that one. What I read was ADHD Unlocked. So,
right.
but I'm curious to know.
So what happened is that I had people saying to me, John, you had such an interesting life. Yeah, I only started writing this 6 years ago, this one here, and by then I'm already in my late 70s, and they had been probably for 20 years saying to me, you have such an interesting life, why don't you write a book about it? And I tried, and writing books, as you well know, is not easy. And so I would try, stop, and then I knew if I didn't do it now, it would not happen. And so I started then, and that resulted in this one, Against All Odds. And then the other part about it, I had to do it well. So, but learning the whole process is not easy. And, in terms of, fonts and the size of the book and the cover of the books and all those things that it had to be something that is professional. I never thought it would become my business, but I had to do it well. So that's what motivated. I wanted to show that never give up. Attitude, passion, work ethic. That is being the foundation of my life. That's what I've done all along. Even when I was a kid, even when I was, going to the difficulty of not understanding why I was not successful in the schooling system and my friends were, but never quite understanding that it was ADHD, the attention deficit, hyperactivity, and the whole combination of being a typical ADHD kind of an individual. But I had to stay positive, and then I wanted to start over again. And my dream of going to Canada and building a lumber mill gave me a goal, and I did that, fairly quickly. And not until I picked up the book from Dr. 𝗕𝗫𝗀𝗀, about driven to distraction, about ADHD, that all of a sudden I knew, oh my God, that's it, So that's what I have, So. But that's kind of, I felt I had to write a book about it. That's why I wrote this. And then the other one here, ADHD Unlocked. The more I found out about ADHD, and the more stories I heard about it, is I always remember, I gave a lot of these books away to people that I know as I did presentations. I do a lot of keynotes in different areas. And so this one time I did a keynote in west of 𝗕𝗃𝗀𝗀 in a community, and as I was sitting there the night before, some fella came up to me and he said, I don't want to disrupt your dinner, but can you talk to me before you go? And I said, sure. I said, where are you sitting? He said, there. So after I was done, I went over to him, and he said, he was one community, and he had gotten one of my books that I send them, and to as a community leader, to distribute or become aware of. What I did not know, he told me that his son of 15 had been struggling with this for a long, long time. And when he got the book, they read it together. And he said it changed his life. And so I felt then I had an obligation to even become more vocal about it. And, therefore, the book to me has become very important. And so the other part about it is that it's not only for people that have ADHD, but also people that are affected by trauma, slow learners, or people that, because the frequency of occurrence likely being 25% or more, I suggest a lot of times that there is no question that anyone, virtually anyone, will encounter in their circle, maybe in their family, in their friends, or the workplace or the interaction, that they will encounter ADHD. And the more they know about it, because the people that have the benefit of ADHD are somewhat a little bit different. And if you know them and understand them, then you can better relate to them. And the other part is that, as I said before, is that we had to put an advertisement in across Canada, actually, for a senior management person in one of my operations. And we put in the advertisement that additional to the skill sets that we were looking for, that ADHD will be considered an asset.
Wow. I love that. Oh, is this it?
Oh, sorry.
I saw the ad. I saw the ad. That was really nice.
Oh,
That was
that
really
was the
nice.
ad. I didn't even know that Andrew did that.
Yeah, he did. He like uploaded it so I could read it. I
Yeah,
was like, where did they
yeah,
go?
yeah.
But I read that. I love that because I definitely think like you said that there is a stigma around it, and I think saying that it's an asset, like it's actually something that's beneficial, and kind of like reframing it in that regard is very important.
And
And
that's
you've
why
touched
I
so
did the book.
much
And the same
and
with this one is that, that the reason that I wrote the book is because I know so many people and they hate their jobs. I said, if you hate your job, do something different, because it will affect your life and the people around you. It will not make you happy, and that doesn't make you very good company for the people that you're around. And then the other part has been that I do a lot of presenting to younger people, and a lot of times when I do, if they're in college, university, I say to them, what do you want to do for a career or in your life? They say, I don't know. I said, well, I believe it would be respectfully a good idea to find out. What do you want to do? You want to be a truck driver? You want to be a builder or a mechanic or a home builder or a doctor or a lawyer or even an entrepreneur or a CEO, So talk to people that do those kind of professions so that you get an idea of saying, oh, I like that, I like this and the other one. So and then a fair question would be saying, hey, John, are you living the dream? I sure am, and
I
that's
love
why I
it.
get up 5:30 in the morning. I'm in a hurry because every day is a good day for me. So that's why I wrote this one. You know?
Yeah, I loved finding your passion, living the dream. I actually quit my job in August because I was like, you know what? One, I don't need to do this anymore. Two, I'm not happy. Like I was so severely unhappy, and I was like, I'm too young to be this unhappy. Like jobs are a
Exactly.
dime a dozen. I'm very much like I think we're kind of similar in this sense where we're very value driven when it comes to our careers, and that's why I was able to grow this book page. It ended up being now my job. But it's something where I too actually I wake up 5:30 a.m. and I'm excited to start my day because for the longest time I'm like happy and content,
Yeah.
so I'm doing something that I love.
Yeah. Very, very important, Reina. So now the other part, I don't know if you can see that. I'm sure you ADHD, you have it in front of you. And
Yeah.
look at how much is it, the price of the book?
Oh, it's 25.47. I
All
love
my
that.
books, all my books are 25.47.
I love
So
that. That's such branding.
for our guest watching us, 25.47 is what I had in my pocket when I landed here in Prince George. I counted it at
Yeah.
least 3 times, and in July of 1965. Yeah.
Is your license plate 2547 by any chance?
No.
Am I allowed to ask that? I don't know if I'm allowed to ask. You should get like a license plate that says like, I don't know, BR and then 2547 or something.
So, how do you like ADHD? So what I did with the book, let me tell you this as well, is when I wrote the book, I wanted to make sure I wrote it from the mind of somebody with ADHD. That is not so with Against All Odds or Finding Your Passion. So that you could go in the book, you can either pick it up, open it anywhere, start reading either forward or backwards. It will always be interesting to somebody that has the mind of somebody with ADHD. I'm not saying that those are the ones that would be reading it, but you can make a connection to it.
Yeah.
And
I actually
and
love that you designed it in a way where it doesn't have to be read in chronological order, because I recently started doing that for some books and I'm like, honestly, this is so much better because I can get straight to the point, to the chapters that I'm most interested in, and
right.
then go back to everything that I missed. So I think that was actually like a really like a sneaky little treat in the way that you designed the book.
Yeah. So I thought that was important. And it has become very successful, actually, and it's starting to become more successful. But as you well know, it takes time that for those people that aspire to writing a book, I would encourage them to do that. It's rewarding in terms of being able to express your feelings in a lot of cases. If you believe you're going to make a fortune on it, I would not discourage anybody from that writing books, they may be successful in your mind. It becomes a question of it is a complicated process, and how do you get it to the market? How do you get people like Costco or other major people to acquire it? And then, like in my case, I'm now contemplating, I'm going to send you Against All Odds. I'd like you to give us a comment on that as well. What you think about it is that I want to translate it or get it translated into Dutch and maybe
Oh,
even Swedish and German.
yeah, I think that'd be neat. I'd have to read the book first, but I think why
Yeah, yeah.
not? If it like is it like a memoir? It's like a tribute to your life up
Biography.
until biography. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well. I think that'd be neat. Are any of your books, other books, translated by any chance or no?
No, not yet.
No.
Yeah, but they will likely be, but I like about the other part that, and you know that from me, a lot of people in Europe, even more so now, obviously, is that they love, in particular, Canada. And since we both are Canadians,
Yeah.
I'd be a bit more careful that with my friends on the other side of the 49th parallel, that they don't care a lot of times all that much about the Americans, but they love the Canadians, and so and especially a lot of them, talking about, I decided to emigrate, when I was already 5 years old. And then I tried to go when I was 17, got then drafted into the Dutch Air Force. And then finally I emigrated when I was 23. And, so a lot of people would love to do that, is saying, starting over all new again in a country like Canada, they admire that. And now the other part that I had is growing up during the war years. I was there. I've seen the results of it, saw far too much that we should not have seen, was affected by PTSD and the inner child, and and then have a whole different appreciation than likely, with all due respect, that most people have, is that do not take things for granted, and appreciate the democratic process, although it has these flaws, but the alternative of dictatorships, the example are all around us. If you think about Hitler, that created an immense amount of damage to his own country, Putin, Kim, think about Iran, think about Venezuela, think about Cuba, North Korea, so we are so lucky, so fortunate, but it can change so quickly. And, and we all have to appreciate what we have, and always be, I say that to young people, be involved in the culture of your community, and be proactive, at least be part of the community. And I believe when I left Holland, that's something that always stayed with me. We did that in Holland, and being proactive in the community.
I love that.
Any thoughts about my finding your passion, living the dream?
You know what? I read it last summer, and I did do a lesson on it. I think you had something, I can't remember the quote at the top of my head, but you had a quote along the lines of like, if you never try something new, this is very rough, but it was like, if you never try something new, then you'll never know. It was something along the lines of that.
Yeah.
And I honestly love that, because I used to be someone, like, in the past, I used to be so shy of like going after what I really want in life. And one thing that my Bookstagram taught me was like, sometimes you just got to go through the motions to figure out what you want, and opportunities will just kind of like come your way. Like if you stay stagnant and you don't make any decision, nothing's ever going to happen, right? You kind of have to go through the motions. Exactly. You have to take that first leap of faith and whatever, and go through the motions, and everything will naturally unfold the way that it's meant to. I wish I remembered your quote at the top of my head or had it written down, because it was so amazing and it was such a great lesson. I actually ended up sharing it on my page. But it was along those lines of just take that first leap of faith,
Yeah. And then, and there is always lots of naysayers, like I was lucky that even when I was in Holland, and in a mind of a lot of people had failed because I became a laborer, that I knew I had the ability. I had an amazing mind. I have an amazing memory, and I was very good in numbers. And I knew here, when with my suitcase, my $25.47, my 3 books, I always I liked Drucker because his views on management and was different than most other people. And even when I was a laborer in Holland, I would try to go to find successful people that did presenting, and I would listen to them. No matter where they were, I would travel down there, I had a bus, train, or whatever, to just listen to these people, and they gave me inspirations. And then I knew I could do it if I started from nothing, and that having that self-confidence that you can, and there are always naysayers, but the other part that I had the benefit of being ADHD is a lot of people that have been trained into organizations, and obviously you're an exception, in particular in those areas, but a lot of them that become CEOs, they think in a certain framework. Me being ADHD, I always take time outside of it and saying, are we doing the right things, or is there a different direction to go? Are we doing the right? So I'm more innovative, and that's typical for somebody with ADHD, and even people that are in senior management. They they are innovative, looking for different directions and opportunities.
Yes, yeah. So I do have a question about finding your passion, living your dream. What is one big key takeaway that you want all the readers to take away from your book? Like, what is the most important lesson that you think everyone should take away from finding your passion, living your dream?
You have to reckon, you meaning in a general sense, that I say that a lot of times to anybody. Be at peace to who you are. And saying that we're so critical a lot of times of ourselves, the way we look and the way we dress, and this is not right, this is... No, be at peace because you are unique in this world. There's no one else other than you that has the uniqueness of you as an individual. And that means you can pursue opportunities. And then once you believe in who you are and what you are, and if that means you have to talk to other people and saying, what makes him tick or her tick, or what, then do that, because that once you build that confidence that you can do it, everything is possible. That's what I want to say. Everything is possible. But be at peace with who you are. You are unique. And, and so therefore everything is possible. And then the more you can learn from what made these other people successful, and so that's why I read Drucker. That's why I want to other people that are presenters that were successful. I wanted to see what made them click. And it's always the same foundation: determination, being at peace with who they are, and from there on forward, everything is possible.
I love that. That's such a good lesson. I love that.
So what else comes to mind, Rana?
In terms of finding your passion, living your dream, or ADHD Unlocked, I'm so curious. Let's see. I do have a question for you, but it's not book related, but it is something that I am kind of curious about, just based off of like who you are. I was just curious, like, what advice do you have for young viewers for balancing like work, success, fun, health? Like, you have 10 companies, you're, in phenomenal shape, you prioritize your health, you're writing your fourth book, right? And you seem to like have virtually done it all. So what advice do you have, especially for young people? Like, we're still trying to figure out, like, we want to prioritize work, but we also want to prioritize fun. Do you have any tips on how to like balance both? Or
I think it is to reconcile as to who you are and what you want to accomplish, and then a lot of times that entrepreneurship can be very, very rewarding, but then it's also very, very demanding. And if you have a family, and I experienced that myself from, I was married my second time, and the first one was, the beautiful mother of my daughters, actually, and but it became so involving that I was preoccupied from, the 7 days a week, and you have to find that balance in terms of saying that you can do it both, but you have to make sure that you have that balance and preserve your family and your family life. And so what I do now with all the things that I do is that I'm very lucky with my wife. We have a very, very good relationship. And so I'm in northern BC during the week, and then we have a place in Victoria, in North Saanich actually, and where we have a farm, and we have 7 horses. We ride English dressage, and and CS very preoccupied there, and she loves it there. And so what I do is today is Thursday, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I take a flight to Victoria. I be there at 2:45, and then that time I spend at home with her, and but I have an office as well. I can do work, and we do things that we like to do together. So to find that balance, extremely important. And then
Yes.
so a lot of times that is a challenge, but again, very, very important.
I love that. That's such a good response. So it seems like, like isolating time for work and then, also isolating time for family or fitness and whatnot. Um, so in terms of your passions though, is there any other passions that you've yet to live out and you're going to try to accomplish this year? Or do you think you've accomplished all, like, achieving all your passions?
No, I haven't. So every day is even podcasting is relatively new. We started doing that 2 to 3 years ago, and then kind of picked up the pace. But I'm probably doing 15 podcasts a month, and sometimes more than that, 3 or 4 a week, and then in which I'm the host, and then probably another 2 or 3, a week where I'm a guest. So that is been very, very rewarding, and I enjoy it. I've started with my 5th book. This one should be out. The first draft is out next month, and then so I'm working on that. Then I'm doing 3 keynotes next week, I think. So so I'm doing lots of stuff, and I
You're booked and
stay
busy.
interested.
I love that.
But the important part is that I had to remove myself physically from here on the weekend, because if I don't do that, then I'm involved in my companies. And this way,
Yes.
I'm not doing that. I do other stuff in my office down there, and then enjoy it together with my wife, do all the things that we do either on the farm and, so those kind of things.
Yeah. I've
So
definitely
to
like
find that
struggled.
balance is critically important.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that I've struggled with because I'm more on the ambitious side, so I love working, but now that I work from home and I'm creating content and there's so many blurred lines with, like, when should I stop working, when should I start? So that's always something I've struggled with, but you seem to have such a good grasp on, like, handling it all. And even in terms of passions, it's funny, like, things I'm passionate now, I wasn't passionate about like a year ago or 2 years ago, and I find that, like, as we evolve and grow as individuals, we're going to find things that we're newly passionate about, or the things that we used to be passionate about, maybe we aren't passionate about anymore. Like, it's constantly changing. And that's just something that I've seen within myself, like, as I grow older, and something that I've noticed. Um, so yeah,
And
those are just my questions on how to, like, kind of like handle and manage all of that.
and again for me the same. That uh, I didn't have the skill sets that I have now. I was far too much involved. Worked as long as I could stay awake every day, virtually 7 days a week, and that's not the right thing to do. And I found other hobbies, although it nearly killed me at one point when I realized I have to work on my diet and then do in a serious way fitness. Obviously, I then built bodybuilding into it, which worked. And then I'm a presenter, and then obviously quite active in podcasting. I'm working on already a 5th book, so I'm kind of looking at staying active in those areas. But
Yes.
to you're still in the early stages of being aware of making sure that don't overdo it into one area, so that you have your personal life as well and the social aspects of your life as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Rana, this was an amazing podcast. I really enjoyed having a discussion. I'm going to send you the book Against All Odds. I'd like you to give me some thoughts about it, when you have it. And, then we'll kind of go from there. And then, again, I'm still in the business of trying to bring my books to the market. Any ideas you have there, share them with us. And, if there is a fee involved of some sort for your expertise, that's fine. But I'd like to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, I know. I'm really excited to read Against All Odds. If it's anything like ADHD Unlocked and Finding Your Passion, Living Your Dream, I'm sure I'm going to love it. And I can't wait to read. Sorry, you said you're writing your 5th book, or is it your 4th book?
No, the 4th one is Living Young, Dying Old. And then I'm writing a book on the forest industry in British Columbia. It's
oh my God. Okay. So your 4th one's coming out this year, and now you're writing your 5th one. You are an absolute machine. I want to be you when I grow up. I wish.
Rana, it was a pleasure and a privilege to have you on my podcast. You will get it tomorrow. And again, if you got a contact point for guests that may be interested in talking to you about books or reading books or anything like that?
Oh, do I have a... Sorry, what was that?
So if somebody wanted to send you, as part of your business, that somebody is watching and saying, I would like to share with her, some books that I believe are interesting, she may be interested in reading, or...
Oh, yeah. If you ever want to connect with me in the future, my handle on both Instagram and TikTok is Books and Things Explained. And yeah, you can just shoot me a message on there if you have any book recommendations or you want me to check out your book or anything of that regard. I do prefer nonfiction, but I'm not opposed to fiction either.
Excellent. Rana, It was a pleasure. You take care now.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.